Hello guys and welcome to the Exiles Podcast. This is a podcast we talk all things Newport County, and as you can see I'm joined by Owen and Luke. Boys, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. So obviously, looking back at the last game, Newport versus Tranmere, sadly Newport lost 1-0, slipped down to 8th from the table. Luke, how do you feel this game went?
I definitely think that Newport are lacking that something that they had earlier on in the season. They're missing goals. They're missing a constant goal threat. They only managed 2 shots on target, and Tranmere were just as defensively solid as when they faced them last time. But this time, Tranmere managed to come out on top and nick the goal. The goal came from quite a scruffy bit of defensive play early on as well.
Yeah, obviously, like you said then, we haven't been on the best of form. They've been struggling to, score goals, really. In the last 6 fixtures, they've only had 18 shots on target. Owen, would you say that's a creativity problem, or is it other issues?
I don't think it's a creativity problem as much as it's a problem of just having quality in the final third. I know that sounds like a similar thing, but look at the stats for the last few games. They keep averaging double figures for just goal attempts in general, but a lot of them, seem to be blocked or wayward, and they don't have. And obviously, it sounds like a broken record banging on about Scott Twine again at this stage of the season, but they still don't have the quality that he brought to the team, and obviously since he's gone, they haven't really been able to fill that void as well. So I think it's just purely a lack of quality in the final third rather than specifically creativity. Because I think if they still had quality to the extent that Twine got them, then I think they'd still be able to turn games and sort of nick points here or there. But obviously they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen, the Newport fans have been saying the last few weeks that it's down to the pitch being bad at Rodney Parade, but you look at this game, it's a good pitch at Tranmere, and they failed to score. There's only so much you can do where you can blame the pitch.
I think it's a tough run because they had that period where it was, it constantly seemed to be the pitch's fault, and then they had an opportunity to sort of prove everything wrong and set things straight, and they come out losers against Tranmere. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is a tough time for them at the moment.
Yeah, and Lou, do you think? Obviously, they brought Nicky Maynard in, supposed to be the poacher that Newport needed recently. He scored against Grimsby, and hasn't done much since. Do you think they're still lacking that goal scorer then?
I think there's a mixture of things going on where maybe he's not performing as good as people might have expected when he came in. I also think that Newport would benefit from more quality in the build-up play as well, because there aren't many of those chances going in across the 18-yard box that he would feed off of. So,
yeah, and obviously keeping on the Nicky Maynard topic, on the South Wales Argus recently, by Chris Kerwin, they did a verdict on Newport County's January signings. I'm not going to go through all of them, but starting off with Nicky Maynard, I'm going to say a name, and you're going to tell me whether you think is a hit or miss, and explain why. So, Luke, I'll start with you first. Do you think Nicky Maynard's been a hit for Newport since he's joined the club?
I'd say that he's been a miss so far. It's early days, but of course, one goal for a striker in 7 or 8 appearances isn't what was expected. But then I think the whole team is contributing to that struggle as well. So maybe he'll perform better with a better supply.
When you feel the same, or?
Yeah, I think you're going to say he's a miss at the moment, but like Luke said, I don't think he's the type of striker to lead the line and carry the weight of the team on his shoulders. I think he very much, he's an experienced figure and he's sort of been there in the Football League. So it's one of those where when the rest of the team starts, I say performing, but when everything starts going their way again, they start getting the rub of the green. Maybe you'll start firing him in. But 6 starts, and he's only really scored 1 this season for County. It hasn't been a good start for him, to be fair. I think it would have to be a miss.
I'd probably have to agree with you, obviously. Both. Well, we had the GTA video. Everyone thought it would be a big sign-in. Obviously, it's a loan sign-in, but he scored. He did well against Grimsby, and I think in some of the performances he has played well. He's come in to score, and I mean,
yeah,
he hasn't done what Flinney was intending, really. Obviously, moving on, straight Jake Scrimshaw. He came from Bournemouth. He's made 10 appearances, scored 2. Striker like Nicky Maynard. Luke, I'll go with you first. Hit or miss?
I think he's been, again, a bit of a miss because he was in the team for a run of a few games and he scored once. And then when he was dropped again, the team managed to get their first win in a while. So maybe he's not quite up to scratch still in the team.
Owen, what are you saying?
I think it'll have to be a miss, really, especially off what you've seen from him so far. But what I will say is I think it is important at this stage of the season, obviously winter break is just about past us, but the fixtures are still coming in thick and fast. And I think anyone that he seems more likely to be coming off the bench and making an impact rather than being someone who leads the line for me. I think as many of them in your team that you can have, the better, because you're gonna still want fresh legs. You're gonna want a fresh face to come in when things aren't going so well. So I think it is important to have him there. But in terms of the impact he's had on the starting 11, I think it might have to be a miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard really because he's only 20. Like you said, he adds energy to the team, and I'd probably have to agree with you in the fact that he's probably better coming off the bench than being a starter. But what I do like about him is he is like a classic Michael Flynn striker. He does really work hard, and for strikers, sometimes they don't score enough, but as long as they're working hard, the fans will love them. But obviously, he came in as a Saiku Jana replacement. I don't think he's lived up to. I'm not saying Jana was that good, but I don't think he's lived up to what Jana has done. I'd probably have to say he's a miss as well. But it's not too much of a miss really. I think he can, if he can carry on, he can be a good player for Newport. And right,
yeah, I agree.
Luke Gambin, Luke, hit or miss?
I'd say I'm gonna go with hit, but it's a tricky one. Again, he's not produced numbers, but the team is struggling, and I think on his debut he scored 1 and assisted 1. So he's shown that he can perform for the team, but he's in a team that is really struggling at the moment, and I think that's part of it. So for me, he's a hit.
Owen?
Yeah, I think as far as signings going, I have to agree with Luke because, again, similar. Well, like I said for Scrimshaw, but to a larger extent, I think he's going to be vital. Come the end of the season when things start going County's way again and they get the rub of the green. I think a creative player like that is going to be I think you're going to count your lucky stars that we've actually got him. So, he hasn't exactly hit the ground running right now, but I think it's a good signing, and I think he's shown in flashes what he can do, and I think it's just about applying that now. So I'm going to say hit.
Right. So I think I know you both said hit. I'll be honest. When I was looking at this, I was a bit undecided, but because I'm gonna have to go over hit or miss, I'm gonna go for at the moment a miss because like you said, he has shown glimpses of what he can do, but I mean the run and form that Newport have been going on at the moment, I think he needs to, pick up his form and show those glimpses that he's shown and carry them on and keep going. So I'm gonna have to go he scored a good goal against Oldham, and that's one of those glimpses that if he can show on a regular basis, maybe Newport wouldn't be in the form that they're in at the moment. So I'm gonna have to go a miss. But it's not like same for Scrimshaw, it's not like a very bad miss. It's like close to the hit. But and obviously I know we're gonna go for this one. Farquharson, 23 years old. I don't know if I said his name right, I'll be honest, but 23 years old. He came from
I think we should just say Priestley for this, his first name. I think that might be a lot easier.
Yeah. All right. Priestley then. Come from the Welsh Prem, 23 years old. Luke, hit or miss?
I'd give him a hit. He's been a solid signing. He's also had big boots to fill, Cooper going out. So it was always going to be a tough job to replace him, but he's doing a solid job there. So I'd give him a hit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give him a hit as well, because you think of how young he is, coming from the Welsh Prem, and he's just slotted in as if it's, just another day of the office for him, like as if the standard is the same, when obviously he has to perform at a high level already. And like Luke said, big shoes to fill with Cooper going out. But yeah, I do think he's been a hit from so far. I think we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and if I had to, I'd have to agree with you. Obviously, he's coming from the Welsh Prem, and he's fit right into Cooper's, where Brandon Cooper was playing really in the good run of form. It can be hard coming from those leagues and coming into League Two, but he's fitting right really well. So I'm gonna have to say he's a very, very big hit for me. Keeping on we'll say Priestley conversation. Owen, for the Welsh Prem and League Two, how big of a difference, quality of football and how big of a difference do you think that is between those two?
It's a weird one, because I think as a centre back, as a defender, I think all you can really do is just do your job and defend what's front of you. Similar to a goalie in a way. Like when you see a good goalie in the lower leagues, it's really hard to judge whether they'll perform at a high level, because they can only deal with what's in front of them and the quality that they face in week in, week out. So the jump is massive, but it's surprised me how well he's taken to it, considering he's gone from the Welsh Prem to League Two now, and top of League Two as well, top end. So I think the jump is big, but it's hard to be like, but last year he was a Welsh Prem quality centre back, and now he's leveled up all of a sudden. Because like I say, you can't. I think it's hard to shine in a lower league when you're a centre back, because all you can do is just deal what you're given with.
Yeah, obviously we've seen the same with Cabango. He was playing for, was it TNS? He came from the Welsh Prem as well. So I remember reading that Farquharson has been, he was one of the best defenders in the Welsh Prem. So it's not as if they've got some random centre back. He is he's up there with a better. Well, I think he was the best defender in that league. Luke, you mentioned it about Brandon Cooper before. How good of a job do you think he's done? Farquharson's done to replace Cooper?
I think he's mostly got that defensive side of his game down. I feel like Cooper had a bit better ability on the ball, but at the same time he's coming up a division or going up the levels, whereas Cooper was coming down from Swansea. So he's really done well to fit into the system and he can play both in a back three and a back four, which is also very good.
Yeah, I agree. He's looked very comfortable, and yeah, he's certainly one to keep an eye on, because I wouldn't be surprised if teams from the higher leagues will come in for him. Moving on to the pitch. It's, if you look at it now, I think even Flinney said it's the worst he's seen the pitch since he's been at Newport. For years they've had Newport County, the Newport RFC, and the Dragons playing on there. Because of COVID this year, they've had the Blues playing on there this year as well. They were unable to relay it in the summer because of COVID. So, you know, if there's any bad weather, really, this is what Flinney said anyway. If there's any bad weather, the game's going to be off, and they've only got 1 week spare in the league. So, say we have a few games off, the games are going to pile up, and if Newport want to stay in those playoff positions, that's going to cost them, well, potentially, just because of the pitch. Obviously, there's been reports that Newport want to try and change their stadium for the rest of the season. Luke, do you think this is a good idea for Newport?
Yeah, I think it definitely would make sense, because if you think about it, even if they go somewhere smaller, there aren't any crowds at the moment, so they're not losing that part of their game. And a pitch that has been used by 2 rugby teams during a week and hasn't been relayed over the summer, it's difficult to get any sort of consistency at home in their play, I would have thought. So yeah, it definitely makes sense to look elsewhere.
The only problem I see is that obviously with the EFL rules and regulations, I don't know, because obviously they could go to Spitty Park, where they used to play, but obviously they had to change stadium because of all the rules and regulations. And obviously with COVID as well, is it COVID secure and stuff? And then you look at Cumbrand Stadium as well. That's a very nice service, got a good stand, but then again, that's right next to some with a vaccination centre, and it's well, there's options, but I don't know if we don't know if they're able to do it. So we'll have to wait and see for that one, because there's definitely been talks about the moving stadium. Do you think that the pitch has stopped Newport from maybe progressing in the league? Obviously, before the winter period, they were well, we all know they were flying, but now they've come, well, the last 15 games, we've won 2. Some of them have been away, but do you think that's the pitch has stopped them from, progressing?
Yeah, I don't think, obviously it's not the main factor of why they've sort of dropped off at this stage of the season, but it definitely is one of them. I remember we did an episode, I think it was one of the first episodes we did when they played Cambridge away, and there was talk of the pitch then, and how like the state on the pitch, because they didn't call the game off, it hindered the way Newport wanted to play, and they ended up affecting the result in the end. I think Newport now, with the inconsistency they've got at home because of this pitch, I think they've just had a run of games that are exactly like that. So I think it's nigh impossible for them to properly get a foothold and stop the free fall, as it were, when the pitch is in the state that it is. So I think, yeah, it is important that they sort of somehow move if they can, or a solution needs to be reached, to be fair, to stop them slipping down the league any further.
Yeah, I agree. Right, well, moving on to Behind Enemy Lines, where me and Owen talk to John Waldron. Hello, guys, and welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines. As you can see, I'm joined by John Waldron, who's a Colchester United sports journalist for the Gazette. John, how you doing, mate?
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on.
No worries. Great to have you on. Well, obviously, looking forward to Saturday, Colchester versus Newport. From a Colchester perspective, any injuries or suspensions looking forward to the game?
There's quite a few injuries for Colchester at the moment. I don't think there's too many fresh ones after Tuesday night's game against Carlisle, but they've certainly got a few players out. mainly the captain Harry Pell, Ben Stevenson, another midfielder, and Tom Lapsley, so 3 central midfielders are out at the moment. So they're the main kind of injury worries, but they won without them on Tuesday against Carlisle. So I wouldn't be surprised if the manager goes for, if not an unchanged team, certainly very near to the one that he started with against Carlisle.
Are there any players to watch for Colchester United do you think would make an impact against Newport County?
Well, the name that springs to mind is Frank Nouble, as you guys all know all about Frank, a very popular player at Colchester United. I get the impression he was a popular player at Newport County as well. He's been fantastic for Colchester, certainly the couple of years that he was there, got them into the playoffs last season and was very close to helping them get promotion. Was one of 4 players that left the club once COVID kicked in and the season was suspended initially last year. I think that the club felt that he was coming up to the end of his contract and it was going to be quite expensive to keep him and 1 or 2 others on, or certainly offered him new contracts. So he left. He went to Plymouth Argyle and now he's come back on loan to Colchester in the last transfer window last month or in January. So he's a very popular player at Colchester and he scored in his return home game against Exeter last week. As you know, guys, he's a player that can play up front or out wide. Very, very committed player, sort of works so hard for the team. And he's the one that Colchester are looking for at the moment. Obviously they won Tuesday, but they've been going through a tough time. So he's the one they're looking for to sort of drag them out of trouble, really.
Yeah, he can definitely, he definitely has his moments, and he's just, he's the sort of player that can make it. Well, he can be playing bad, and he can, run at the other end and score a goal. What sort of position has he been taking up for Colchester recently?
He's been playing as the number 9. He's been leading the attack, which was different from his first spell at Colchester, where he most of the time played out wide. And I think if you ask Frank, and he said it many times in interviews, he'll always want to play as the number 9, as the main forward, leading a line. And he does it so well, holds up the ball well, uses his physical presence to brush off defenders. And I don't know if it's actually been confirmed, but it sounds as though that was one of the things that was maybe verbally agreed between Colchester and Frank when he came back to the club, that might be his position. He's certainly started the last few games there since he's been back there and he's enjoyed it. So we spoke to him after the game against Carlisle on Tuesday night and he was so happy to help them sort of get back to winning ways, and he played his part in that by helping them win the penalty that helped them get back into the game against Carlisle. So yeah, he's a big person sort of on and off the pitch really for Colchester. He's a big personality.
Going into the game, both clubs are in a bit of a dodgy spell of form, particularly Newport with 2 wins in 15. Is the lack of form something you anticipated over the winter period for both clubs?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is no, really, for both clubs. I mean, I think Colchester's and Newport's bad spells seems to have coincided with each other, really. I think Colchester's last win before Tuesday was December the 8th, and I think Newport and Colchester seem to go on similar runs at the same time. And Colchester, fortunately for them, have got back to winning ways, which they so needed the win against Carlisle, as they've been 14 games without a win and been dragged right towards the relegation zone. And thankfully for you guys, Newport, you haven't got any worries like that. But Colchester really looking over their shoulders, especially before the win against Carlisle. It left them sort of 7 points above the drop zone and falling fast as well. There were clubs below them picking up points. So you were thinking, wow, if they don't start winning games, they're going to get dragged really into it in the last few games. It really surprises me about Newport as well, because whenever I've seen Newport, they've always been a really good team to watch. And they obviously got that late win against Colchester earlier in the season, got a very late goal to win it. Have always been tough games for Colchester United. And of course, I've watched from afar, watching Newport's fantastic FA Cup exploits over the years. So it really surprises me to see them sort of not having won for, or certainly struggle for wins over the last few weeks. And from an outsider's point of view, it makes you wonder whether, is the number of games, maybe the cup distraction, things like that. I don't know. You guys know better about that than I would. But really surprised by both teams' decline maybe over the last few months. And they've certainly both got quality in their squad and quality players that you think that, if they can get a couple of wins, they'll be back up there again.
Yeah, obviously before the season come to an end, before coronavirus last year, I think, am I right in saying that Colchester were, in the playoff sort of places?
Yeah,
Yeah, so obviously now in 20th, I'm guessing before the season, that's not where you sort of expected Colchester to be, really.
No, not at all. I think the main aim when the previous manager Steve Ball got appointed was promotion, whether that was playoffs or automatic. But realistically, they were hoping for a top 7 finish because that was what they achieved the previous season under John McGreal. Albeit they had lost some key players like Frank Nouble and Luke Prosser and people like that, which was going to make it difficult for them. And the budget was cut quite considerably because of the COVID financial implications for every League Two club that they've suffered. So I think people were realistic enough to know that it was going to be difficult for them to emulate what they'd done last season in the playoffs. But all the same, the expectation levels were high, and I think most people felt that they could challenge for promotion. So to see them down in 20th is a real disappointment, or certainly around that mark at the moment is disappointing. And I think now the aim for Colchester between now and the end of the season is to just finish as high as they can and just get back up that table and finish strongly, and then sort of build for next season, really.
Is there anyone from Newport's current squad that you'd take at Colchester United?
Yeah, well, that's another good question. Paddy Amund, I think he's the one that always scores goals against Colchester. He's always been one that has impressed me, and he looks like he's always looked to me like he can play at a higher level of football. But it seems like a really good fit between him and Newport over the years. They just seem to have been a good good marriage, as it were, and under the manager he seems to get the best out of him as well. So yeah, he'd probably be the one that I choose. He always seems to play well against Colchester. So yeah, take him out of the Newport team, put him in the Colchester team, and he wouldn't do it anymore.
I know a lot of well, we've had a few people like journalists come on, and a lot of people have said the same, like Patrick Amond. Everyone wants to. Well, but to be fair, recently he hasn't been scoring as much. I mean, we've been on a bit of a drought as well. We haven't been able to put the ball in there. That's quite frankly why we're not winning.
Well, Colchester had a similar problem. They've really struggled for goals. I think they went something ridiculous number of hours without scoring recently, and to score the 2 goals they did against Carlisle on Tuesday was a real boost because, well, we got them the win, but also they really have struggled in front of goals. So to get 2 goals in a game was a real bonus.
And obviously, both teams are on the best of form. How do you see the game panning out? And for that to push you, what's the score prediction?
Yeah, well, if you'd asked me this question before the game against Carlisle Tuesday, I would have said, it's going to be hard to predict anything other than a Newport win, really. Even given the Newport form, I think Colchester badly struggling for form before that. Obviously, a change of manager. They've gone 14 games without a win. But on the evidence of Tuesday, the second half revival that they were 1-0 down, they came back to win 2-1. It gave everyone such a big boost. And they're at home again on Saturday. And generally speaking, their home form has been good this season, aside from maybe recent games. So given Newport's form, you'd say probably you'd go towards Colchester. I think maybe I'm a little bit biased towards Colchester, of course, but and I haven't seen Newport play, obviously, last few games, so I can't really comment on whether their results are reflective of their performances. But I just think with the way Colchester performed in the second half, they've got a new manager in charge now who's given them a bit of a lift, and that was seen on Tuesday night. I think it'll be tight. I mean, most games this season involving Colchester have been decided by 1 goal, whether it's a defeat or a win. So I think it will be close, whatever happens. It could go either way, really, but I think it'll probably have to go towards Colchester with my Colchester hat on and say a 2-1 win for Col U, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a good game.